Welcome to Unity of Tacoma. We are an online church with a physical presence here in Tacoma, Washington. And we hope that if you're in town, if you're around, that you'll come drop by and spend a Sunday morning with us. We have visitors today from Nebraska, from up north, Edmonds, and Colorado. All right, we've got people from all over, and I'm just so excited that you've chosen to spend today with us. Thank you for being here. So my name is Raylene Ewing. I'm the Associate Minister here at Unity of Tacoma, and we are on the very last day of a 6-week series about Unity's 5 basic principles. I called it 5 Principles for Living a Life You Love, because that's what they've been for me. Principles that guide my life, that help me as a sounding board to create a life that I absolutely adore. Today, incidentally, is an auspicious day. You may not know it, but something magical is going to happen while you're here today. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I was born August 11, 1969 at 11:03 a.m. I am 49 right now, but when you leave, I'll be 50. I love how life evolves, just keeps moving forward. My daughter said, so now that you're 50, are you going to start counting backwards? And I said, heck no! Everything forward, everything bigger. In fact, you couldn't pay me to go back to where I was, not a chance. Something new is emerging for me. You know, I've been in this philosophy for 15 years. Did 4 years of hardcore training, graduated, got a piece of paper for my wall. And I was in it for me. I was in it for my personal transformation. Because I saw the teachers, and I saw the other practitioners of this philosophy, and I saw what they were doing with their lives and what they were allowing their lives to become, and I was enthralled with the idea that I had dominion over my life in a way that letting go and letting God, as we like to say, would allow greater things to emerge than I could imagine for myself. And my life goes in 7-year cycles, not really 10-year cycles. I mean, this is 50. You can't go by 50 and not demand that your mother drive down from Edmonds and see you for your birthday. It's my golden jubilee, and I'm treating it that way. Now, in our family culture, the way we do birthdays is somewhere around 2 o'clock, we go, oh yeah, happy birthday. That's just the way we are with birthdays. So I knew that in order to make a 50th birthday be special for me, I had to make it special. And having my mother here certainly does that. But we've been talking about you. Don't go listening to the other talks. What did I want to say? Oh, something's emerging for me. You know, 15 years I've been developing myself. 15 years I've been developing self-awareness. I've been developing spiritual practices that support me in my life. I've increased my prosperity. I have grown in my profession. I have created relationships that I absolutely adore, and now there's something new. My life goes in 7-year cycles. So when I turned 49, that was actually perhaps just as auspicious for me as turning 50. And for the past year, I have been nurturing something really special, although I didn't know what it was until very, very recently. Been doing my spiritual practice, been doing what I call deep listening. Some people could name it meditation of types. And it's emerged for me as I pay attention to my interactions with the world. And it started with a desire to shift out of being a paralegal, which is my day job, incidentally, at the law firms where I've worked and at the insurance company where I currently work. They only know you guys as my side hustle. They have no idea this is my real life. This is my real life. And the urge that emerged was to move out of being a paralegal and move into something y'all have probably never heard of, and that is a provider relations specialist, which is a very strange thing for me to want. As an introvert, I've always been very clear, like 30% people time and 70% computers and files, thank you very much. That is the balance that works the best for me. That's why this job works great for me. And I now am seeing and feeling a desire to shift that, because I am now seeing and feeling a desire both in ministry and both in my other career, my side hustle over at the insurance company, to develop relationships, to hold spaces for other people to explore what I've been exploring for the past 15 years and find out what works for them. And how that is emerging for me in my professional life is this desire to specialize in creating relationships with doctors' offices so that they can have the best benefit of what the insurance company has to offer. It's calling to me. It's emerging. I never would have known if I hadn't been doing my spiritual practice. It's calling to me in ministry too. I don't know how that's going to emerge in the long term. It's starting to shape up in the short term, but I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years in ministry, but I'm excited about it. Let's do a little review. We've been reviewing every week, especially today as we know that we have visitors. We're talking about what are called Unity's 5 basic principles. And what a principle is, and this will tell you how much I've evolved. Previously, I would have memorized this definition and held it in my mind and measured everything against every letter of that definition. But now I can let that go. I understand what a principle is here in my heart. I understand how I use principles. But a principle, according to Webster's, is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. And all 3 of those are true to me. When I look at these principles, I use them as a sounding board against what I believe, how I behave, and how I reason through the choices that I make in life. The reason why understanding what a principle is because we're sort of an oddity in the New Thought world, which is the overarching name of the philosophy that Unity belongs to, along with a select few other movements. There's a point at which principle becomes dogma. Dogma is a principle or set of beliefs laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true. And I don't want to do that here. I'm not here to tell you what's absolutely true. I'm here to share with you what's been true for me. Now, I'm going to read to you the 5 basic principles so that you can hear them. And I'll tell you right now, that's about the 20th iteration I have found of them. I'm rather fond of the current iteration that we have of our 5 basic principles. They work really, really well for me, but they don't work as well in other congregations where they've decided to have a little more Jesus in it. It doesn't work for some other congregations that want to have more flowery language because that's what resonates with them and that's what pulls them forward. It's not right, it's not wrong, it just is. It is what resonates with that individual person or organization, and we let that be okay. But even our founders, Charles and Merle Fillmore were our founders, but it was actually their granddaughter or great-granddaughter, Connie Fillmore, who initially came up with these 5 basic principles. She changed the wording of them. Subsequently, other people changed the wording of them, not because they were not true, but because they came to a greater understanding of what they were trying to express. And so that's what we're open to, that's what we allow, and I invite anyone to call me on anything dogmatic that I put out to you. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. I am here to learn how to now move into a place of holding space for your personal growth and development, for you living the life that you love. One of the things that we talked about, especially because we talked about dogma, and you can't really get past dogma for a lot of people without talking about Christianity. And so the question that we explored the first day was, are we Christian? And what I've finally come to in my personal understanding of the Unity movement, and especially of Unity of Tacoma, is, I don't know, are you? Are you? And can Unity of Tacoma be a safe place for you to explore your identity, whether it's religious, philosophical, theological, personal, spiritual, whatever it is that you're exploring in order to help understand who you are in the world? Let Unity of Tacoma be a safe place for you, and call us out when it's not. Call us out when it's not. Principle number 1. I'm just going to bring my notes with me so I'm not constantly over here at the lectern. So, principle number 1. God is all there is, present everywhere, and absolute good. Not asking you to believe it, asking you to try it on and see if believing it makes a difference in your life, makes a positive difference in your life. Explore that idea. God is all there is. Principle number 2. If God is all there is, Human beings are created in the image of God, and our very essence is divine. Therefore, we are inherently good. If God is good, then we are good. If God is love, then we are love. If God is peace, then we are peace. Now, we really got down in the mud and wrestled with this last week after the 2 mass shootings. God is good all the time, really what? I love that you feel it so deeply, Bree. I love that you love so deeply. Thank you. Thank you for being that with us. Principle number 3, we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Not what we think, but how we think. I cannot mind control Heather to let me have her children. I don't know, maybe I could. In doses. I come up with her playdates with Xander. She has 2 beautiful children. I cannot mind control my mother to leave everything to me and exclude my sister. I cannot. Or could I? No?
Well, we're talking about it.
All right, we're having a conversation apparently. It's not what we think, it's how we think. And how we think is how we're going to experience the world around us. Principle number 4, our lives can be changed and transformed through the power of prayer. And today we get to discuss a little bit more what does prayer mean? We've heard lots of different people pray in different ways in different traditions. In Islam, prayer is extremely stylized. In Christianity, you get everything from very, very quiet murmurings to oneself to very charismatic flailing and rolling on the floor. My mother grew up with the holy rollers, she likes to call them. So prayer means something different to every person who's experienced it. Today we get to talk about that because today we're talking about principle number 5. Christine S. texted me and she said, give me a little more about what we're talking about today. I said, oh, it's simple. It's the Nike sermon. Just do it. Principle number 5 is that knowing the principles is not enough. We must live the truth we know. Anyone knows what that means? Let me know after the sermon. Live the truth we know. In Science of Mind, they say treat, because one of their forms of prayer is spiritual mind treatment, and praying that type of affirmative prayer is called treating. They say treat and move your feet. It's not enough to pray for a job. You gotta look at the want ad. You gotta get on monster.com. You must live the truth you know. Now, prayer definitely tops my list, literally tops my list of spiritual practices to explore and get to know. And I have no idea where that thought was going, so moving on. But there are a lot of other ways to engage in spiritual practice. If you know where you're going, if you know what's calling forth into greater expression in your life, there's absolutely nothing better than affirmative prayer for moving you into your greater good. Sometimes we don't have clarity about what our greater good might be. We're stuck. We'll feel stuck. It's a very common word that I hear when people come for a session with me regarding their spiritual growth. I'm stuck. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. One of the best ways to get unstuck is to meditate. And when I talk about meditation, I am specifically talking about silent meditation. For a long time before I encountered this tradition, I had a practice of deep listening. And that is how I often refer to silent meditation. There's something very powerful in it. And you'll find it across cultures. Meditation is a fantastic way to be inspired, to understand what's calling you forth, and then prayer is a really good way to put it into action. Sacred service, that's in my top 5. Volunteering at church, serving at the soup kitchen, being in service to humanity in some way is also a fantastic spiritual practice that will help you get to know yourself better and find meaning and purpose in life. There's a psychologist who was a professor, and he gets a lot of guff because he shoots from the hip. He doesn't hold anything back. There's nothing PC about him. I'll remember Jordan B. Peterson. Now he gets his own show, and then he gets fired for what he says, and he comes on talk shows, and he mixes things up. But one of the things that he's teaching, especially young men, is that if you're seeking after happiness, seek after meaning. Do something meaningful in the world. That's sacred service. Sacred study. Sacred study to you might not be what sacred study is to me. I have spiritual texts that feed me. I have conversations with certain people that feed me. They are doubtlessly different people in different texts that are meaningful for you. The important thing about spiritual study is that you stay in it, that you constantly allow yourself to be open to new ideas and new understandings, and we do that through people who stretch us, ideas that stretch us beyond where we are. And sacred study is how we access that. The 5th one on my list is tithing. This is not a random list. This is actually the list that was given to me when I was licensed. Well, before I was licensed, it was kind of beaten into me. You will engage in these 5 spiritual practices. Otherwise, you have no business being in this program. Tithing was hard. Tithing was really, really hard. And naturally, I had people around me who had similar struggles, and we had similar stories, and we kind of clustered together and talked about how prosperity is not the great indicator of spirituality, and it's not fair that they've got this pay-to-pray structure at the church. And then I started hanging out with a different circle. Started hanging out with people who tithe, and I'll tell you, it was easy for them. They loved it. Met one lady who was decades older than I was. I'm not even going to try and put an age on her. She was unbelievable. And one day when I was admitting some of my struggles, she said, "Girl, you're not even there yet. Tithing is training wheels for giving." Tithing literally means giving 10%. It's not just a free will offering. It's not a pledge. It's 10% of the good that you receive financially given to the source of your spiritual sustenance. That is specifically what tithing means. And it wasn't until I took the plunge and, albeit fearfully, stepped into the practice of tithing that I understood what people were talking about. It's not something that until now I've been comfortable talking about, because I know all of the barriers that I've had to stepping into the practice of tithing. Right now, I'd probably be able to give a fairly decent 20-minute talk on the benefits of tithing for me, the benefits of tithing that other people have found, and why it's just not about the money. It's not about the money, it's about your consciousness. Now, they gave you those 5, and somewhere they added a 6th. They changed things up on us. That 6th one is visioning. If you haven't done visioning, I strongly recommend it to you. Our Vitality team is going to do a visioning process. Check this out. After you spend 20 to 30 minutes meditating on love, you start asking questions like, what is Spirit's highest idea of itself as your life? Anyone else get goosebumps? I mean, that's just nuts. Not what do I want to do, what's next for me, what's calling me. God as me has something to express in this world, and I'm letting everything go to the side so that I can listen for what that is. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. Keeping good company. Thank you for coming today. You're helping me with my spiritual practice. Gratitude. Charity. Totally different from tithing. Totally different from money. I saw a bumper sticker put out by a mosque in North Seattle that said, "Even a smile is charity." Changed everything I thought about what charity is. Random acts of kindness, saying grace. For some people, doing yoga. Yoga goes beyond something physical and becomes a spiritual practice. There are lots of ways to engage in spiritual practice, but the important thing is that you just do it. Now, the tradition that I'm from, the way I was trained, there's a phrase, your daily dedicated spiritual practice. If I go into any sort of interview with a supervising minister or anyone else, Raylene, tell me about your daily dedicated spiritual practice. That's a hard one for me because I've taken the time to become self-aware and I stopped judging myself for not having an altar and a meditation cushion and a candle. I don't have those things. Many people in my tradition have those things. They spend from this time to this time in meditation and prayer, and they spend Wednesday evenings in their prayer chair with their gratitude journal, and they've got this daily dedicated spiritual practice. That's never resonated for me. I find tremendous value in all of these spiritual practices, but I would be the first person to say, if you don't have a daily dedicated spiritual practice, don't worry about it. Try it first, but don't worry about it. I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you, what are your primary spiritual practices? What are your primary spiritual practices? What are you doing? What are you doing beyond just the ordinary earthly give and take that we have in this world? What are you doing for your spiritual development? I really don't want this talk to go over. You know, I spent most of my time writing this talk, cutting things out, so I'm going to try and finish at 11. Christine asked, you might have to sing double time.
I can cut a verse.
Now, technique I can teach you. I'm highly qualified to teach you. And in fact, if you've been coming for this entire time, and if you were listening when we started, I've already taught you spiritual mind treatment. You just might not know it. First principle. Anyone? Anyone? God is good. God is. God is good. Second principle?
So are we.
So are we. Third principle?
Prayer.
Yeah, thought can change your water into wine. We didn't do the theme song today. Maybe we're doing it later. Maybe not. But the five principle theme song that we've been singing every day, is God is good, good and everywhere at one, and a thought can change your water into wine. Those are actually the first 3 steps of treatment. That's not how we discuss them in religious science, which is the tradition that I'm trained in. But if you want to start your prayer, you're like, I don't even know where to begin with prayer. Heather was hilarious at our meeting the other day as I'm calling you out. We're like, who's called to pray out? And I'm like, I don't know, I feel, Heather, you're called to pray us out? Maybe she's like, I don't know, I'm not trained. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. But if you have that feeling, well, gee, no one's taught me how to pray, start here. God is good, and so am I, and therefore my life manifests as goodness in my job, in my relationships, in my finances. There you go. Those are the first 3 steps of treatment in short. Gratitude. I give thanks. I give thanks for the understanding that this is true. I give thanks that this works in my life. I give thanks for the abundance that I have and the relationships that I have. And the 5th step is release. So I release these words now into the automatic action of the law. Or if you're more Christian-y, I give these words into the automatic action of the Holy Spirit, which only knows yes for me in my life. Nothing more to do. You let it go. Done. Because you haven't changed anything. You've announced what's already true and was true before you even thought of it. And so it is. Amen. Prayer. Spiritual mind treatment. Easy, breezy, done. Now there's 2 types of spiritual mind treatment. I always wanted to be the realization type. The realization type is the person that already realizes the truth of God, the truth of self. You have a conversation with them, and they pretty much do spiritual mind treatment with you because that's where they live. If you want an example of that, have a conversation with Christine S. Have a conversation with Chaplain Deb. These ladies live in truth all the time. It's amazing. Well, there's a second type of spiritual mind treatment. Much more suited to me. Scott's already laughing. It's called argumentative. Now, Now, argumentative treatment is where we argue with ourselves to get to spiritual truth. We convince ourselves of what is true. We get to that thought so that it's not mind control. It's an accepting of the good that already is in the universe that is trying to manifest as our lives. That's argumentative treatment. I'm very experienced in it. Well, there's not just the technique. Ernest Holmes writes of the technique and the fire. And in his later years, in his later work, he says, I wish I'd spend more time on love and less on law. But you know, that's been my experience too. I mean, I want to understand how it works. I want the name for it. I want the definition. I want to memorize it. I want to put it into a song so I can remember it. I want to talk about it with other people. I want to tear it apart, put it back together, and make sure I know that I know that I know. The technique was very important to me. It was a gateway to a philosophy that's brought me to a place where I let myself go. And I can be myself in a different way in the world. Now, I grew up with messages from my mom. Oh, you're so black and white. You're so stubborn. Boy, when you dig your heels in, there's no getting you to change your mind. You're so hypersensitive. All of these messages that I got through my life, I took as something negative. And it's taken until now to work with them, accept that they're true, and use them for my benefit. And I'm ready to use them for other people's benefits. Heck yeah, I'm stubborn. Oh yes, when I dig my heels in, good freaking luck, changing direction. You want me advocating for you?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, that's right. As my husband says, once Raylene decides something, it's done. Just give up. I have this black and white way of thinking in this world, and recently what I have come to understand is being authentic in this world also has manifested as how I dress. I know this is like super woo-woo here. A lot of my clothes are solids, blacks and whites. I chose my profession because I knew that I could do all of these very analytical things because that is how my mind already works. Why not get paid for it? That's fine. I am. I'm black and white. You want me to believe in you? You want me to be 100% in with you? Come see me. I will buy into your greater good in a way not everyone else can. Everything else is just chatter. Black, white. In or out. You come to me, you want me for your advocacy, I am all in, and we will get it done, whatever it is. Even if it means arguing with the universe. Now, self-awareness, yeah, we're not going to finish on that. Self-awareness is absolutely key to doing this walk. Because what if I went with my first thought as a youngster and became a kindergarten teacher? Oh my goodness, I'd be dead. I'd be in the funny farm. That would not have worked for me. I don't know how I survived my own children's childhood. But with my deep listening, and doing it in only the way that I could, right? Because the fire within me is not the same as the fire within Jen. The fire within me is not the same as the fire within Heather. We're all going to express that fire in different ways, and it's the right way because it's your way. So my way is systems and processes. I am a systems and processes person. I do not like nonlinear thinking. Drives me nuts. We have a project manager at my office. I hope she doesn't watch our channel. We have a project manager at our office. I ask her a yes/no question, and her conference starts like this. And how are the kids? And yeah, we got to get this person on board. And oh my goodness. And then what do you think you're having for lunch? 15 minutes later, I don't have an answer to my question. I'm just sitting there. Sometimes I never get an answer. I was watching myself sitting around the patio table with David and my mom last night, and I didn't get to finish a sentence. I didn't get to finish a thought. And these two were over here just bantering, having a good old time, and I'm there, I'm with them, I'm listening. And when there was a break, I said, so as I was saying, it's important to me. It's just as painful as if you were to sing, Mary had a little. Someone's saying it. Someone's my sister over here. Yes, yes. Must complete from beginning to end the entire process. And if I'm interrupted in my process, I'm doing better at not being angry and frustrated and not understand why no one's listening to me, no one values me, and all this chatter that I used to have, and just honoring where other people are. But if I really feel like I need that need met, I'll bring it back, I'll get that need met. That's just who I am, and I allow myself to be that way, and I own it. It's neither good nor bad, it's just who I am. It's how I exist in the world. So you want to let everything inform your self-awareness. Dissatisfied at work? Yay! Let's explore that. We're about to learn something juicy. Love your job? Well, let's see how that excitement and engagement at work can somehow be mirrored in your relationships, which may not be quite as juicy. Let everything inform your self-awareness. What you think and what you don't think. Where you're uncomfortable, oh, that pit in your stomach is telling you something good. When you're uncomfortable, that's when I want you to walk in my door and come talk to me. You know, someone said that they didn't like my hair, and I don't know why, but that really, really bothered me, and it reminded me of, yeah, come in, come talk to me about that. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to discover, and we're going to uncover, and we're going to reveal the truth that you are as beauty in the world, power in the world. When you feel that in the pit of your stomach, something amazing is happening. Let your self-awareness inform your spiritual practice. I've let it inform my spiritual practice. I have absolutely no shame about not having a daily dedicated spiritual practice, because I have a daily dedicated spiritual practice of self-awareness, of prayer, right in the moment. And don't come griping to me. We're going to end up in prayer. Oh boy, here we go. We're going to work it. Spiritual practices come in two varieties and everything in between. Here's the grand finale, okay? You have directive spiritual practices like prayer, and you have receptive spiritual practices like meditation or my deep listening. And you're receptive and visioning. Massively receptive. That's an amazing process. Your receptive spiritual practices inform your directive spiritual practices. If you were here when I was talking about someone manifesting a sports car, that wasn't what she really wanted. What she wanted was power and freedom. But she thought she wanted a sports car, and she, by golly, got that sports car. But it was without allowing herself to get to the core of what was calling for expression in her life. I gotta come up with a story that's my own for that one. I probably have 50 of them, I just don't want to think about them. Because I know that I've called forth things into my life that I didn't really want. In fact, I can tell you 2 marriages that I called into my life that I thought I wanted, that I didn't really want, because I didn't understand myself. Just do it. I don't care how. I don't care how often. I don't care when, where, or with whom. Just do it. Leah, do it with me now. Can we go into meditation, Christina? Just gonna... So that concludes our series on the 5 basic principles. But don't worry, Reverend David Elliott's coming back from sabbatical, and he's going to be doing the Power Up series. We'll be exploring the 12 powers of man in a very new way. We're going to up-level it. The series is called Evolved. I hope you'll join us beginning September 1st. See you there.